when things are better, isn't it? All right. Dr. Sorah, this mic is all yours. You are muted if you are speaking.
Okay, I should be here somewhere.
There
Yes.
you are.
Okay. Give me 1 second because I lost you. Okay, all right. There it was hidden by, there I am. So it's really filling to listen in on conversations about the course. The course is so rich, living its teachings. Um, carries you. I mentioned courage, that's the French. I always liked that word. Courage means heart. And I always think of the course as heart opening. What does heart opening mean? It's heart, opening the heart is, deepening one's love. And what I have learned in my many years of practice with the course is that as deep as I think I can go in love, there's more. And the course teaches our reality is love, and we don't even know what love is. And I'll probably come back to this theme in my talk, but that's not really what I want to talk about. But I in my book, Intimacy, the sacred space between us. I have quotes from the course. I did get permission from the course to use them. And one of the first quotes, love which created me is what I am. And then the second one, I love, teach only love, for that is what you are. Um, when you join with another, let's see, when two minds join as one, they see their union as the symbol of love that created them. What's the message here? The message is that our reality is love. Love here. Another one, love is the way I walk in gratitude. So the message is our reality is love. And because our reality is love, there's nothing to fear. And this world, I have some notes about, the world and the real world and, the lessons, from today, from yesterday, today. The world, the course teaches, and the world would be three-dimensional reality, as it was, and the course teaches, the world was made as an attack on God. Huh. The create God's creation wanted to experience itself apart from God. It's like the prodigal son story in the New Testament talks about that, and the course repeats it in a section that the Son of God, the child, the creation, you can use whatever words you want to use, left home. And you can imagine what happened when you leave home. There's fear. There's a little cartoon Calvin and Hobbes, little character, 5-year-old Calvin wants to leave home and he packs his bags. Or there's a movie coming out, The Odyssey. Uh, Matt Damon's in it. And in the Odyssey story, Odysseus leaves home. I'm not sure why, but he has all these adventures and all these things happen, and at the end he returns home. And the prodigal son, at the end, he returns home. And in the prodigal son story, the son is welcomed with a fatted calf. Uh, poor fatted calves. I don't eat calves. Uh, but the point is in my interpretation of the course teaching, and I've been doing this for over 40 years, 45 years. Oh, and happy birthday, Dove. So, my interpretation that what we're being taught, and maybe other teachings teach this, but we can return home any time we want. And any instant could be a returning home, isn't it? Yeah, and what is returning home? It's an instant of peace. It's an instant of connection, an instant maybe expansiveness, an instant of feeling loved, and an instant of miracles. So I just lost you, but I will return to you, I think. Okay, there we are. So I'm calling this talk Forgiveness Changes What We See. I have a bunch of titles here. Forgiveness Changes What We See, The Miracle of Seeing Differently, A Shift in Perception. I could also say a moment of courage, a moment of heart opening. And it takes a lot of strength or faith to open the heart. Many of us have opened our heart or tried to open our heart in the past, and what happens? You can get stabbed in the heart. So it could feel vulnerable at first, but then when we surrender, let go, connect, and I have stories about that. When we surrender, let go, connect, that feeling of fullness returns. We realize, no, we are not alone. We have never separated from source, and that opening makes is strengthening and makes us stronger. So let's see if I could do this without losing you. So again, forgiveness changes what we see. And I'm going to tell some stories. I always tell miracle stories. One of which happened this week, not to me, it happened to my niece. Some of you know Heidi. She moved. And if anyone knows what moving is like, it's a pain. And it could be overwhelming. And many of us have experienced or been in a state of overwhelm from time to time. You have so much going on. I have my own stories. When my husband was in the last stage of his life, over overwhelm was like typical. So I might come back to those stories, but my niece's story is so interesting. She was overwhelmed. Things that were supposed to happen didn't happen. There was garbage. She needed help sorting things out and just overwhelmed. So what did she do? She called me. The purveyor of wisdom here. And I listened and we chatted, and she had to go back to her unpacking and moving. And what she said was, after she took that moment to reflect, she's also a course student, to pray, reflect, ask for guidance, everything changed. She went from a state of disorder to like the cavalry arriving. The landlord, this is what I remember from the story. The landlord made the phone call she needed. Her neighbors came over and helped, and things sorted themselves out. So what happened though? The main point I want to make is that nothing that what we see in that outer world, which the course calls the world, 3D reality, we can call it that, um, is why it's not really reality is because, like the course talks about, it's subject to change. Anything that's subject to change isn't real. And how we make it not real is by shifting inside. Yeah, like and the course talks about the real world. So we have the world and the real world. And what the course calls the real world is this world, the 3D world, seen through the eyes of forgiveness. And what's forgiveness? It's not even necessarily I forgive you and you forgive me, formally some kind of process, but it's always it's a form of letting go. It's a form of it could be acceptance, it's a form of letting go, it's a form of uh, even letting go of control, whatever the problems are. One of our teachers, and I say our because of Dove, one of our teachers, Paul Steinberg, used to say, we all have only three problems: money. I'm sorry, Karen's not here because she said some things before that were interesting. But money, relationships slash sex or health. Money, relationships, health. And those three things that are the only problems that, they could be reduced to three things, all problems. They all involve the body and, identity with who we think we are. And we think we are this body. And bodies are subject to change, as we know, and bodies are subject to uh, get sick, and bodies are vulnerable, and bodies can be frail. I, I, um, I don't know that anyone who has ever left here with their body. Maybe, maybe masters. Supposed to be a master in India, Babaji, who kind of comes in and out of being in his body, but I don't know anybody like that. What I know is that, bodies have a beginning and an end. And the point, so bodies have a beginning and an end. How are we going to live? Are we going to wait for the outer to change? If I've been talking about grievances in the course, as the course talks about them. So grievances are if something or someone else changed, I would be happy. That's a grievance. And to think about, and I've talked about how many people I know, complain all, there's always something wrong. And, even if everything's perfect, there's something wrong. So to change the world to the real world requires that shift. And notes I have here, the real world is not another place. It is this world seen differently. Forgiveness is not denial. It is the release of fearful interpretation. And in Heidi's case, this could include the garbage still needed to be removed. The phone calls still needed to be made, but Heidi, after taking a moment to breathe, reflect, call me, talk to someone, it changed. The situation changed because of an internal shift. And I think that's the important point of A Course in Miracles, and to go back to, going home. There's a workbook lesson that it says, I will be still an instant and go home. And what's home? Good question. What's home? So home is that feeling of being taken care of and nurtured and nourished and safety and innocence. I mean, I could go on, but home is being secure, it's being safe. And what in any moment that we let go of the outer and we take that moment to go within, we're at home. We're encouraged over and over in A Course in Miracles to go within. That happiness is not out there. Happiness is an inside job. So I will go on with my notes. Um, and then things change on the outer. And I have a list, let's see, um, one story I forgot about, but I have been writing over the years and I found this story. So uh this was wow, the beginning days of the course. I want to say like 1984, somewhere in there. And I was in Manhattan, and and I had no money. Um, I had no money. Like I was expecting to get paid from seeing a client. I was doing some counseling and I was going to this client and I expected to see the client and I had no money and it was overwhelmed. How do I get around to Manhattan without any money? And again, I took that instant, I stopped, I prayed, um, and I literally heard a voice. And if you've listened to my talks before, I talk about hearing the voice. I literally heard the voice say, "Go to 42nd Street and wait." Okay, so I was near 42nd Street. I think I had dropped off my car. So I was near 42nd Street and I started walking out north. I remember that. And I got to the corner, 42nd Street, and I waited. And I asked again, like, okay, now what? And there was a car that came to the corner where I was standing. It was the southbound, I think the street I was on was all southbound. So they were going south, and the car stopped at a red light, and I knew the people in that car. They were miracles people, and I had met them before, and I knew them. And yeah, I ran up to the car. Hey, can you take me up north? And by chance, they were about to turn and go and head back up north to where my appointment was. And what does that story mean? At any moment of overwhelm, at any moment of, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And we all have these experiences, where I don't know what to do, where how do I proceed? I know, the way my life works, and that happens all the time. But I'm also in contact with spirit, and I pray and I ask for help. And things like go to 42nd Street and wait work out for me. And another story. Um, I wasn't sure about what to do with my life. Then periodically it happens with me. So I wasn't sure about what to do with my life, and again, it was that feeling, not necessarily overwhelmed, but uncertainty and not knowing, where I stand and not knowing, where, who am I, where am I going, what am I doing with my life? And I was at the beach um, and sitting on one of the sand dunes, and these thoughts, the tumultuous thoughts were going through my head about what do I do now and where do I go? What am I supposed to do? And so I closed my eyes and I prayed and silently, asked for help. And, with that, and I'm sure I told this story before, but, with that, while my eyes are still closed, I was hearing a propeller plane, one of those prop planes that used to fly across the beach. This was Jones Beach in New York, Long Island. And I hear this, plane and I open my eyes and there was, one of these little prop planes and it was carrying a banner. And the banner said, it was Long Island University. And I had asked for a sign. And there it was. There it was, Long Island University. Like the sign said to me, go back to school. So I want to come back to this idea of, what is the real world? And the real world is, again, is this world seen through the eyes of forgiveness. Let me go on. I think again, we've all been, I'm assuming we've all been at times feeling overwhelmed. One of the things that I had to deal with was when my husband became ill. And I don't know if anyone's ever been in a caretaking role, but it can be really difficult because all of a sudden, two things, someone you've loved and been with, for a long time, starts becoming frail, and in the frailty becomes more remote. So that's one thing that happens. Another thing that happens is, their physical care gets more demanding. The physical care gets more demanding. So both of those things combined in a caretaking role are, and I will use the word difficult. So how to transform that difficult time into this opportunity, like I'll use the word, to go home, to live with miracles, to live with peace. And that occurred through, somebody talked about the course being very intellectual, a lot of it is intellectual. This world's an illusion. What do you mean? And if you read it, um, let's see. Here's a passage. Perhaps you think you did not make the world, but came unwillingly to what was made, hardly waiting for your thoughts to give it meaning. Yet in truth, you found what you were looking for when you came. What does that mean? There is no world apart from what you wish, and herein lies your ultimate release. The course is not meant to be read quickly. Or I think that's, people may argue with me. There's, I don't know, millions of people who are studying Course in Miracles worldwide now. But I think it's written, a lot of it seems like Zen Kohan's. Um, for example, infinite patience brings immediate results. That was one of my husband's favorites. Infinite patience brings immediate results. And you go, huh? Huh? What does that mean? or you came here looking for something. What does that mean? So the course is meant to be pondered. It's meant to be reflected upon. It's similar to, saying Cohen's, what is the sound of, or Cohen's, cone. Cohen makes it what, Irish? Cohen makes it Jewish, but Koan is how it's spelled. What is the sound of one hand clapping? And I always do this thing. It actually makes no sound. And in the contemplation, that there's growth, but it's really in the application that the way home becomes, what word would I use, becomes more reachable. So going through, like, to go back to, Heidi's story, the overwhelm of moving, to go back to some of my stories about, in the early days, really not knowing who I was or what I was, where I was going, or finding myself in situations where, uh-oh, what do I do now? And then later on in this, stories I have about taking care of my husband, where the overwhelm of being responsible for someone else's life is, was at times overwhelming. And in those moments, as I said, we can stop. There's a process that I came up with. Um, let's see, the three R's, if I can remember them. Well, they'll come back to me. Oh, the three R's. Okay. Recognition, responsibility, release. Came back. Recognition, that I'm not at peace. Responsibility, I've made this decision, and release, we give it over. So let's do, it's almost 3. I think my clock might be a little fast. Let's do meditation. Okay. I like doing meditations. And in this meditation, what we're going to do, hi Karen, welcome back. In this meditation, what we're going to do is focus on a situation, and see if we can get a glimpse of what the Course calls the real world. The real world is a symbol. Let's see. Like the real world holds a counterpart of, for each unhappy thought reflected in your world. The real world I'm just reading random lines. The real world is the symbol that of sin and guilt is over and God's son no longer sleeps. Let's see. The real world shows uh, shows a world seen differently through quiet eyes. And there's line, and it's not popping out at me. But the real world is this world seen through the eyes of forgiveness. And that's so important to think about, to go back to something I said earlier. A grievance is like something, in order for me to be happy, something has to change. Some person, some thing, some place, something's got to change. What the Course is saying is that the real world changes as a function of the inner shift called forgiveness. So again, with that, um, let's, close your eyes. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. Steve sometimes drives. Close your eyes. Take some nice breaths. You could breathe in through your nose. Breathe out through your mouth. And really feel in the exhale, really, feel your releasing. You're pressing your belly back against your spine. On the inhale, You're filling up. On the exhale, you're releasing. And now makes, if you can, direct the breath in and out of your heart. I was talking about courage before, meaning heart opening. To me, in French, it's probably something else. But it's the same root, the word courage, and in French, cour has the same root, meaning heart. So we're breathing into the heart. We're releasing from the heart. And you don't have to exhale through your mouth anymore. If it's comfortable, keep doing it. If it's not comfortable, you could breathe in and out of your nose. So we breathe in, we breathe out, we breathe in, we breathe out. And what we're experiencing here is what the Course calls a holy instant. That shift from overwhelm, from stress, from fear to a feeling of peace. And nothing may be changing on the outside. Again, that's my main point. The shift is an inner shift. So think of an issue, some kind of issue, money, relationships, health. Those are, the big three. Think of something going on within one of those realms, or maybe something's going on in all of those realms. And use one of the lessons. The world I see holds nothing that I want. Because it's that craving, that scarcity is another term the Course uses, that belief I'm empty, or that grievance. Something needs to change for me to be happy. We're letting all of that go now. And instead focusing on that feeling of being home that I mentioned before. And imagine that you have a guide. Some of us, in this room, Lynn, Dove, Karen, have experienced that guide. Imagine you have a guide, you have an inner knowing, you have a higher self, you have a Holy Spirit, words, so many words we could be using. But it's this experience of the shift and allowing something new to enter. And we feel a sense of relaxation, of release, of desirelessness. And we feel connected. I've often, with your eyes still closed, I've in diagrams I use, I've focused on or talked about, we have a split mind. There's a part of us that feels fearful, and we identify with that, and that's called the ego. But there's also a part of us who does remember who we are, that remembers that peace, that remembers home. And that's the part we're accessing now. And that's the part that, of course, in Miracles asks us to connect to as often as we can during the day. And I know when I do that, my days are better somehow. So take a few more deep breaths. And we can use the lesson, the world I see holds nothing that I want. And beyond this world is a world that I want. And that world that we really want is this world I keep calling home. And we can have that in any instant that we take the time to reflect, draw away from, and sink within to the part of us that is still connected. So take a few more deep breaths. Like I said, open your eyes. And we're back. Any thoughts? No thoughts? Are we back? Did I lose you? Oh my God. No? Okay. So, oh, Karen, go.
Thanks, Sorah. Yeah, I was
Hi,
able to.
Karen.
I thank you for that meditation. Thank you for your sharing. I loved a lot of the things that you shared. Yeah, it helped me to let go of this idea. Like you kept saying how, we wish things were different, and if this was different, I would be happy. And, that feeling of lack, like something's missing, and I'll be happy when. It helped me let go of that idea that this needs to change and this needs to be different, and just really accept it more, because I know that's the key and that's the answer. And the suffering comes when we want things to be different and wish things were different. So it really helped me, because it really reminded me too, that there is no order of difficulty and there is no hierarchy.
Mm.
Every problem is the same. It's all the same, and I'm making this different. I'm making it different because I'm putting my meaning on it, which means nothing. So it really helped me when you just said, just let go of it and be at peace. It was really helpful to just sit for a minute and do that and take the time to do that, because I'm more always taking the time to think about how much I can't stand it and want it to be different. So yeah.
I understand completely.
Oh my God. So yeah, thank you. It was very helpful.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you for staying and joining in the process. And I'm honored. I've heard you in different meetings, like I've listened, and you're very clear. You know this course, you understand this course. And so I'm grateful that you stayed. So anything else? Anyone? Lynn, Dove? No, nothing. Well, then I think I will end here. Um, let's see. I've shown you this is the book, Intimacy, the Sacred Space Between Us, and it's essays on love and intimacy, inspired by A Course in Miracles, as we've all been inspired by A Course in Miracles. And then, oh, Dub, there's a live person. Oh my God. Okay. Um, there's a podcast I have, Birds, Bees, and Beyond. It's my sex education podcast that I do with a former student, Carolina. and we have fun. We talk about different topics related to sex and intimacy, and it's really educational. Uh, and it's one of my, things, one of my drives, the world needs more sex education. I've been teaching sex ed for almost 20 years. And let's see, and yes, and I do this weekly, and there was my Substack, Dr. Sorah Dubitsky .substack.com. Dr. Sorah Dubitsky it's one word. It stands for Dr. Sorah Dubitsky .substack.com. And I talk about Eros, which is like the vitality, the animator of life, and essence, which is spirit. You could say I talk about sexuality and spirituality. But a lot of the articles are, more, some are more spiritual. The work is trying to, and I have a new cat who's here. The work is trying to, elevate what we think of sex. That, as soon as you say sex, you think of two bodies, and instead of purpose and intimacy, and what is intimacy, and how we can reach higher states of consciousness and awareness through relationship, not just sexuality. So that's what I'm up to these days. So thanks for this opportunity. And I look forward to next week when I'll be talking about, I always think I talk about the same thing. And it just needs to be said in so many different ways, and I think it's similar to A Course in Miracles. It really says the same thing over and over. You read the intro to the text, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. And then you get to the last chapter of the text, choose once again. It's saying the same thing. So thanks, Lynn. I give the mic back to you, and I'll see you next week, and maybe in between. I like I've been tuning in Thursday mornings, and whenever I'm around, I've been tuning in. So thank you guys. Happy birthday, Dove.
Thank
Talk
you,
to you next
Sorah.
talk to you next week.
See you next week. I do appreciate you so much, and your sharing is great. And so glad that you're here with us. And I did
It's
buy your
nice to
book.
see you. And I keep wanting to make that Monday night group you have of nonviolent communication, and I always forget. I have to have my Alexa remind me, but I do think about it, and it is a good. I really would love to be in the conversation about that. So
You are definitely welcome anytime. It's a great
thank
group
you,
and we
dear.
have a good time. So,
All
and
right.
talk about a lot of stuff. It's
I'm
crazy.
sure it's a great conversation. I can't imagine it not. You're everyone is so willing to share from their depth and look at things differently, really making a difference. Okay, guys,
Absolutely.
I gotta go.
Thank you, Sorah. Love you,
I will
dear.
talk to you next week. All right, see ya.
See y'all guys later.
Bye.
See you this evening with Rob.
Bye. And I have a new little cat here, so I have to go pay
Oh,
attention to him.
God bless you and the cat.
Yeah,
what a
thank you.
kitty. I love it.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, all right. Take care. I will, Lynn, you're gonna end the meeting, or
Yeah.
I will